Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode of the Wildcat Alley podcast. Alex Marcotullio, Juice Thompson. We have a special guest on the pod today as well, Nate Taphorn, NU's finest, Mr. Northwestern. We're here to talk all things Northwestern basketball as we head in to the NCAA tournament. Obviously, that's going to be where a variety of the show, or a majority of the show is taking place, is how we got here, what we can expect moving forward, and then obviously would love to hear Nate's expertise on what it takes to get there, what the mentality is moving forward and advancing in the tournament, and what is needed. So really excited for the pod today, guys. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me, guys. This is gonna be awesome.
Man, of course we got to have the legend on there. I mean, you threw that legendary pass. What they call you, QB1. We got to have you on here.
B-Mac likes to keep that term around. I don't know how much that's going to stick, but I'll take it.
I mean, if
now.
you look at it, it's probably one of the best passes in college basketball history. Maybe it's up there with, I'd put it way above, Thomas Hill's pass to Leitner or Grant Hill's pass to Leitner. That was an easy pass. You had to thread the needle about, let's call it 94 feet, drop it right into Derek's breadbasket. And then, he obviously had to finish it. But I think you did the hardest part.
I like to take all the credit on that one. But Derek's shot, if you look at Derek's shot, it's not an easy shot. That was incredibly hard. Left-handed going right off the board. That's pretty tough.
A tough angle, too, from the baseline. Yeah. Luckily, he was left-handed. If he was right-handed, I don't think that has a chance.
No. Tough. Now, if the play worked out perfectly, if you look at
you got to run us through that play.
Yeah, run us through from the timeout.
What was the huddle like?
The huddle was
walk us through that.
Yeah, the huddle was really stressful. Obviously, Coach Collins is in my ear, and he's screaming like, "Don't throw it out of bounds." And that's the only thing I'm like, you cannot throw this out of bounds, whatever you do. And obviously, he took the chance on me, so a lot of credit to him. But BJ, I give Brian James a ton of credit. His after timeouts and his special plays, they're untouched as far as his ability to write those up. So I need to look at the play again, but we had Scotty, Vic, Derek, Bryant on the floor, as well as obviously myself. And so we had almost like a 2-2 set where it was just a screen, it was a screen and a rescreen, and B-Mac was setting a screen on DJ Wilson. And before we went out to run the play, they took a look at our play, and Coach Beeline called another timeout. And basically they had DJ Wilson on me out of bounds at before the second timeout. And they moved, I forget who it was, but a less athletic, bigger guy, and they put him on the ball. And he had been on the bench the entire game. So he was a little stiff and, maybe not as athletic at the time. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to throw this now. Like, this is a good opportunity here. And once the play ran, I saw Derek running. I honestly couldn't see him as much. I just threw it to where I knew I needed to throw it, and he caught it. And I run through the amount of instances where I could have done something different to celebrate, but it was all organic. It was awesome.
The rest is history, right? Awesome. I mean, think about that. I mean, was that a play you all had practiced? Was that something that, you'd drawn up in some shoot-arounds or worked on during late game situations during practice?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun warm-up thing we used to do. So we used to do a layup drill where you make different passes just to get warmed up in practice. And one of them was a baseball pass to your partner. It was like a rebound, you have to take it out, and then it's a baseball pass to your guy. And you'd have to throw it probably 85 feet just to have a nice solid pass on it. So in practice, we'd mess around, and it would be all the way to the rim, or it'd be a half-court line drive pass, having some fun in practice. But at the very beginning of the year, we had the chance to have a secret scrimmage. And we run through those instances where we'd run certain plays. And I think I look back, and I think one of those plays was that play that BJ had drawn up, and we didn't complete it, but it was something. It was just a situational thing we ran with that team before the season started, and that was one of the plays we did run. I remember that.
Wow, that's cool to hear. I mean,
Yeah.
people need to understand that, like, as players, we go through those small details of, you're throwing baseball passes, different kind of passes, because you don't know, when you're going to need them. So I think that's good for people to hear that. And even though it may seem boring and like the littlest things that you guys work on, and look how it paid off for you guys in a big way.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
that's huge.
Yeah, the other thing too is a lot of people don't notice, but you can't throw a basketball the same way you throw a football, or it's a lot different. The angle of your arm and all that stuff is completely different. So the ability to throw a long ball is pretty rare. And I think if you look at the lineup at our team, we had probably 2 guys that could probably throw that, and Vic being one of them. But if you look at the rest of them, it's pretty slim. Maybe BMAC, but I was taller, so I think it just came down to me. I was the guy that always took it out.
Not many more multi-sport athletes on that squad.
There's a lot of multi-sport athletes, but maybe not basketball and football. Who knows?
Well, anyways, obviously it was a turning point in NU history, and is an unforgettable moment in all of college basketball. So we obviously relish that. I was in the building for that play. I remember almost jumping over the people in front of me to get on the floor to celebrate with you guys. But honestly, probably one of the best moments, if not the best moment in Northwestern basketball history, and potentially the university as well. So congrats on that, Nate. And obviously we'll tap into a little bit more when we talk about the tournament. But Juice, let's dive into the Penn State game. Let's recap the Big Ten tournament real quick, and then we can get into the scouting report for the 2023 tourney. What are some of the key takeaways from the game against Penn State? Obviously very similar, almost identical outcome to the game from the previous week, but what are some of your key takeaways that we can use as momentum? Let's not reflect on the loss, but as momentum moving into March Madness tournament.
Yeah, just like all season long, we hang our hats on the defensive end. Thought we did a pretty good job. I think we held them scoreless for the first 5 minutes of the game. But, offensively, we struggled a bit. We couldn't knock down shots, especially close to the basket. But, you have to stay positive and take that away. How we play defense. And, throughout that last podcast episode, we're 20-1 when we hold teams under 64 points. And we missed it by 1 or 2 points. We were right there. So, we have to stay positive with that, continue to play our style of defense, then just knock down some shots. And as we've been talking about, Brooks Barnhizer, he's been the guy that's really stepped up and been that third consistent scoring option for us. And he had, his second double-double in a row, career-high 11 rebounds. So from an individual standpoint, we'd love to see him to continue to play the way he's been playing. But we just have to continue to play our style of defense, especially going into the NCAA tournament. We got to get our guys going. Chase and Boo, obviously they didn't shoot the ball the way that they're capable of shooting, but we know the ball is going to be in their hands and they're going to get their shots. So now we have some time to get some skill work in, get a little bit of rest. I think the guys are going to be, more than ready to go. What are some things that you guys saw in that game that we can, do better, but obviously, continue to build on?
Yeah, I thought the one-on-one defense was very good as always. And then, some silver linings that we could take away from getting knocked out of that tourney early is just getting that additional rest, right? Right now we're playing 7, 8 guys, 9 max. And, I see the shooting struggles as of late, the last 4 out of 5 that we've dropped, as a, result of some tired legs. I really believe that. So getting the additional few days of rest, re-energizing, recharging, getting back in the gym, getting that skill work is only going to help guys like Boo, Chase, and Ty Berry. We really need Ty to score, right? I mean, 1 of 10 from the field, 1 of 8 from 3. He's definitely struggled this year from distance, and I see a lot of his shots coming up short. So I think just having the ability to get back in the gym, get those legs underneath him, and recharge a little bit is only going to set us up for some more success as we head into the tournament. So I didn't see the loss as like a huge down. I mean, I think we were still on that 6-7 line anyways. Whether we win a game or 2 in the Big Ten tournament, obviously you do want to fight for that, the chance at a Big Ten title. But if we're going to take some silver linings here, Boo caught a little bit of fire and wind in the second half in OT. He started to shoot the ball a little bit better. And then, I always got to talk about my guy Brooks. The level that he has excelled and played at has, really allowed him to be a sixth starter and allowed him to really fill in the gaps for where, maybe Ty's having an off night or we do get into foul trouble. He could take some of the load off of our perimeter guys, with his ability to handle the ball and handle pressure as well. So those are some things that I saw. Nate, from your standpoint, what do you think on that Penn State game?
Yeah, I'm just trying to filter out everything you guys said. I mean, you guys covered just about everything. The one area that I think needs to be covered is our slow start didn't really help. We did that the first time we played Penn State. It was like 17-7 for so long, it seemed like. And I think the one thing that I think we could do a little bit better, I mean, we're not playing Penn State anymore, but one of the things that I look back at it, and we let Penn State dictate our personnel on the floor. When they go small, they're really hard to guard, but at the same time, we get away from our traditional offense and some of our really attacking points. I thought Matt's been an anchor all season. He's one of my favorite players to watch, and obviously our shooting on the perimeter needs to improve, but Matt's been able to clean up a lot of the stuff that comes off the rim, and he's done a tremendous job. But I think his slow start didn't really help, and I think that's one area where we can really improve. And frankly, going into the tournament after that game, we have so much to improve upon. We lost by 2? So looking at that game, I mean, we had 3 guys went combined for 8 for 37, and you just can't. And then we lost by 2. That's the worst fact you're going to hear all day. And we and that's how good our defense is, and that's just been our bread and butter. And I'm really excited to see how these guys defend. They're coming up here soon.
We missed a bunch of bunnies too, right? I feel like we didn't finish around the rim. We kind of let Penn State off the hook in the first half. You mentioned it, Nate. You said, we had a slow start as well. I mean, we turned them over like 3 out of the first 4 possessions. We got really good looks all game, and just really didn't convert. So I'm not too worried about that, honestly. And our defense has obviously been our strong point. I saw a crazy stat the other day. We're 332nd in the nation in effective field goal percentage on the offensive side, and we won 21 games. I mean, like,
right?
How else do you put that into perspective, right? It's like we could shoot horribly and still win games, and honestly, look out. That's what I gotta say. Look out. If we make 10 threes in a game, there are not many teams in this country that can beat us. Just flat out.
Yeah.
So I look forward to seeing that. We know, as we start to preview our first opponent, Boise State, in the 7-10 matchup, they're another, stingy defense. But I took a look at some of their tape. They like to play a lot of drop coverage with their bigs. That is coverage that has not given us issues really all year. We've been able to attack that, especially guys like Chase and Boo. Chase being able to get to his mid-range and get to his elbow spots, and then Boo with his decision-making ability and his ability with all the shots around the rim, play off 2 feet, float it up, find the right guys, I think suits us very well in that matchup moving forward. Based on the research that you all have done or things you've heard, what are some exciting things that you're looking out for in this matchup against Boise State out in Sacktown?
Wow. Oh, I'll go first. Before we get into that, I gotta throw out there my Big Ten scoring record for Big Ten tournament is still alive.
Make sure you plug that.
I had a couple big scares, especially with Zach Edey. I was at the game Saturday, and I was nervous. I was panicking when he got towards the 30s. So luckily, it worked out. I got to keep that record, so that's 12 years going strong. But
many more juice.
Moving on to the NCAA.
Yeah,
definitely. Unless somebody from Northwestern goes ahead and breaks it. So, Boo and Chase, you guys got to come back next year. I want one of you two to go ahead and break it for me. But moving forward, looking forward to this Boise State game. Like you mentioned, another defensive-minded team. They made 8 tournament appearances and they haven't won yet. So, that's something that's in the back of their minds. They're ready to compete and go out. And in their conference tournament, they had a late game slip up and they lost the game. But, this year has been a lot different for Northwestern. We've been figuring out ways to win those games, especially in the late game moments. We're putting the ball in Chase and Boo's hands, and they've been delivering for us. And, this team here, Boise State, they've showed that they can play with the good teams. They got a couple of quad 1 wins, a lot of quad 2 wins. So it should be a really interesting game. 2 defensive-minded teams, and it's going to come down to who can make those shots because obviously both teams can defend. And like you mentioned, they're playing that drop coverage. Chase getting to that mid-range pull-up. Even Ty Berry, he's shown flashes that he can get to the rim, finish with a floater, finish with a layup. And then Boo, he's getting around that rim, playing off 2 feet, throwing guys off with, using his eyes, looking around other ways, and then somehow he's magically throwing up a little flip shot, his floater, and making shots. So I think we're going to be fine. We can knock down outside shots, defend the way we defend. I think we're ready for this moment, and we have that experience, with our guards and our players being around so much. And even our freshman, Martinelli, he's got a lot of playing experience this year too. So I think we're going to be in good hands. And, as long as we play our defense, make shots, we're going to be good.
For sure. Nate, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with both of you guys. I mean, looking forward to the game. I mean, we could talk about the season all we want, but this is the only game that matters right now. I look back to the season, and I want to give back to this feeling, and I am back to this feeling. I just want to play some ball. These guys, I mean, we've highlighted all these tremendous talents, from Boo to Chase to Ty to Brooks to Matt being an anchor to Nick coming up to Titus having some great games in the late stretch. Those things are all a recipe for success. And I mentioned it earlier to somebody else, but people were asking me how we stacked up against Purdue and how I felt before that game, and how I felt against Indiana. And you look back at Michigan State and those type of feelings. I was just ready to play some ball. I didn't really care who we were playing. I want to play some basketball because this is the crew that, they're so tight knit. They've got a great chemistry. They can talk to one each other without bickering, and they just know how to play with each other. So I'm really excited about that. The other thing too, on the shooting, they've got practice here in a couple hours out in Sacktown, and every NCAA tournament rims are the best rims and the best balls you can ever shoot with. And I'm really excited for those guys to go get a ton of shots up today and get a really good feeling for that arena.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. I know we have a huge contingent out there already, and practice is going to be lit 2 to 2:40 Pacific time on Wednesday when that open practice is. So if you can get out there, go support the guys. I'm sure they'll love your encouragement and support. From a scouting report perspective, I look at Boise State. I think where we can really make a dent on them is, they're very starter oriented. All 5 of their guys score in double figures, but they're a little small. I think something to get back to what you said earlier, Nate, is like, don't let their personnel dictate what we do. Let's make our personnel dictate what they do, or take advantage of their lack of size. So I think Matt is going to be a huge benefactor. I mean, their leading rebounder is their point guard, Marcus Shaver, at 6 rebounds a game. So I think that's where we can really attack and still and impose our will on them, is going to be inside. Robbie 6'9", Matt 7 foot, 290 pounds. Like, we have some size. So the matchups are not an issue with me. And I think, where we're going to be able to take advantage of that is, number one, on that drop coverage. Can our guards make plays? I think we're going to have the ability to do that. I watched some clips on their most recent game versus Utah State. Utah State was able to come off those ball screens hard. Matt's going to be able to set good, hard screens at the top of the key or on the wings, which we like to get to. And we're going to have opportunities for our guards to take nice rhythm jump shots off the dribble. Can we make them? Can we execute? And obviously, Nate, you said those rims are great shooting rims. I agree. I think this is going to be a great opportunity for these guys to go up and show out, right? There's going to be NBA scouts in the building. There's going to be millions of people watching. It's going to be probably the first time that they have been in, well, it is the first time that they have all been in an environment like this. And the crowd support is going to hopefully favor Northwestern. We travel well, especially during tournament games, as you know well in Salt Lake City. So I really just look at this as a tremendous opportunity for these guys to just go out, play ball, and have fun, right? Enjoy the moment, embrace the moment, and go out and make us proud, which they've done all year. But play for one another, and the sky's the limit for this team. Just based on our draw, we get by this first game, we can beat UCLA. We can beat a Gonzaga or whoever else comes out of that Sweet 16 over there. And, this team is primed for a run, just the way we're built and how we can defend. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, I agree. And you brought up UCLA. They got the Pac-12 Player of the Year. But, obviously I want to see us get past them. I want to see a rematch in the NCAA tournament with Gonzaga. I mean, obviously, Nate, you have the experience of playing, but as an alum, as a fan representing, watching you guys, I want to see us play Gonzaga again. So what was that like, Nate? I mean, you're playing in those games, like Alex said, we travel well, Salt Lake City, especially tournament time. The NU faithful was out there supporting you guys. What was that like? How do you see us going forward in this tournament? Yeah,
I mean, first off, from my perspective, it's a dream come true. Like, I grew up watching the NCAA tournament. To me, this is the best 5 weeks of the year leading up to the Masters, including the Masters. Yeah. And that was just a dream. Jim Nance, March Madness, the whole spiel, that's a dream. So it was a dream come true, first of all. But to make history at such a great university with such great guys, with a team that deserved it, that meant even more. And I'll always be thankful for those memories, just with all those guys. You can't make those up, and you can't replicate that feeling at all. The representation in Salt Lake City was second to none, and hopefully we top that out in Sacktown. But everybody's coming, and I look at the list for all the parties that we're going to this week, and for all the prep rally stuff. It's going to be a blast. I'm really ready for that, and I hope these guys are too. These guys, just like our team, deserve their own moment. And I think that they've definitely earned that. They beat the number one team in the country. They set records for the school, for their own team. They've got a Naismith Defensive Player of the Year. Like, it's a recipe for success. These guys are going to have a blast. I think, but going to this team, I think the one thing that they need to do early is just settle in. And the emotions run so high, and it goes so quick. It doesn't feel like a normal game. It's on a stage. It's in a neutral site. You have everybody's cheering. It's not just one side cheers for one side. Everybody's cheering at the same time. And going to that Vandy game, that was a blast. I mean, that was just straight adrenaline the whole time. We did not care, though, like the whole season. We did not care who scored. We just wanted to win. Like, we honestly didn't care. And I was watching the highlights the other day, and moving up to the Gonzaga game, I can't believe we had those guys cut to 5. We had them cut to 5 with 3 minutes to go. And if Zach Collins doesn't stick his hand through the friggin' rim, that game, that anything can happen. We had just so you guys know, there was a sliver of red and blue cheering for Gonzaga. The entire arena was cheering for us. We've never had that. That was probably the most liberating thing that I've played, or liberating environment that I played in. So that you can't replicate that, and it's just a moment that these guys deserve. They're gonna have a blast. I'm gonna have a blast, and whoever else is there gonna have a blast. So I'm excited.
I was gonna say, take us back to what you felt in that moment, or leading up. I mean, down 19 at half, or something like 18 or 19 at half.
18 at half, 20 to 38, I think it was.
Obviously struggled. Things weren't falling. What was said at halftime, and then as you all were making that run, cutting it to 5, really 3, cutting it to that. Like, what was that? What was it like? First off, what was said in the locker room, and then what was it like being a part of that epic run coming back?
Yeah, I think thinking back to the locker room, it's been 6 years, so it's a little tough to remember
Sorry,
exactly what was said. But I think, if I think back correctly, the one thing that was said was we got to play our game, and that's the entire tournament. You have to play your game. You look at the seeds and you look at who they are and their brand. It's just a basketball game, and that's what it is. And you can't call it anything else. We're playing 5 guys on the floor. They're playing 5 guys on the floor. Let's go have fun. Let's go play together. And we just got back to our roots. We shot the ball incredibly well, as far as I remember that season. Our defense was not as good as this team, but our defense was pretty solid as well. And we just got back to playing our own basketball and playing our own brand. And that was pretty much the message heading in the second half. Like, what do we have to lose? Coach Collins talks about the 3 seasons or the 4 seasons within the season. You have the preseason where you play non-conference games. You have the conference games, and then you have the conference tournament where you have a chance to win a championship. And then if you're lucky enough, you get to go to the NCAA tournament and win a championship there. But you look at those 4 lifetimes, and you have to take them all for granted. You can't take them all for granted. Take each one as it goes. And the feeling of the Gonzaga game was, we got nothing to lose. This is it. This is my last moments as a Northwestern Wildcat on the floor with these guys. That lifetime you'll never be able to replicate that ever again. And I think that was one of the messages, like, we're going all out. We don't care what happens. We're just going to try to win the game. So I think that really revved up everybody, and we just realized, we can beat this team. In my mind, we should have, but you can argue with me on that. Yeah. So, anyway,
Dude, I'll never forget that. I was in Turkey. I was up till 5 a.m. watching that. I'm waking my wife and son up. I'm loud, especially on that goaltender. But man, that's amazing to hear, Nate. Oh man.
And I will say too, the support from, you look at the crowds that have been around this year, and you look at around the crowds that have been around when I was in town. You look back at the Purdue game my senior night at the old Welsh Ryan. You couldn't find a seat. Everybody was standing. It was incredible. And that was replicated at the tournament. And it's been like that almost all year with these guys. So I can't imagine what's going to happen for this weekend.
I'm expecting some fireworks and welcoming, hopefully getting by Boise, and then welcoming UCLA to the Big Ten with another dub. Like, this is what you're going to get.
Come on.
This is what you're going to expect on a night in and night out basis. This ain't the Pac-12 anymore. No free buckets.
We're going to light that beam, baby.
Right.
Let's light that beam a couple times this weekend.
Yes, sir.
Please do. And with that, before we, going into that, Selection Sunday, Nate, you and I were there. We got to talk a little bit. And, I asked you, what was it like, as an alumni for Selection Sunday, and what was it like as a player? Can you kind of walk us through that as you always got called when you were playing and you all made it to the tournament?
Yeah, for us, for the 17 team, that was a little, we were walking in expecting to get called. We thought we deserved it. We thought we were punched. But it's Northwestern. You never know. Like, I won't get my hopes up until I see our name on the board. And they made us wait for a long time. But walking into the locker room, the entire vibe of the entire arena that day, the last time ever in the old Welsh Ryan, we packed the house on one side of the floor, and you couldn't replicate that either. But the media, friends, family flying in, the chaos afterwards, you can't replicate that. And it was just, and you go back to, it was just another moment with those guys, and you wish you could replay it all over and over again. But it was so cool to see everybody come out and support like they had all year. And, talking about as a player, you get a lot of cool stuff when you go to the tournament. We got cool gear, and we got cool sweatsuits, and we were all wearing the same thing, which was awesome. And one of the cooler things and shout out to our video team was the It's Time video. Like, we watched that. I'm not kidding. We watched that probably 50 times over like 4 days. Yeah. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It gives me goosebumps every time. because it just highlights everybody on the team and the whole season. So, and leading up to these guys as a fan and as an alum, I was so ready for these guys to have their own moment. You know, going back to how they deserve it, how they work their butts off all year. I was ready for these guys. And Juice, you were like, go get in. I was like, no, these guys are, when they got announced, I was like, this is for them. I'll be a part of it next week or this week when they win. But like, this is for them. It's those 15 to 20 guys in the locker room, including coaches and staff and managers and all that. It's for them. They lay the blocks every day, and they work their butts off, and do all the scouting reports and all the stuff we never see. It's all for them, but they deserve it. The crowd was great. I wasn't expecting to give a speech, but apparently I had BMAC grabbed me down, so it was great. It was a cool
Luckily,
atmosphere.
you took public speaking at school for that easy A in the summer.
Exactly. You got to do it in the summer because nobody's there. So public speaking is with like 18 kids, and that's it.
Opposed to 100 kids in some of those classes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Hey, you did it right. You did it right, man.
Nah, man.
That's amazing. All right, well, looks like we kind of, we recap NCAA tournament, Big Ten tournament, moving into Word on Campus. What do you guys got? For me, I just want to give a shout out Chase Audige, being one of the 4 finalists for National Defensive Player of the Year. Not being biased or anything, but I really think he deserves it. And going into the NCAA tournament, this is just another opportunity for him to showcase his defensive ability. Obviously, we know he can score the ball, but this is awards for defense. Obviously, it's not an individual thing, it's a team thing, but he's really stood out on the defensive end. And I'm looking forward to him, really showing it at a high level, millions of people watching like we touched on earlier, to really show what he can do defensively and really separate himself and make a strong case for this award. So congratulations, Chase. Really rooting for you. We all hope that you come out with this award and a W. That's the most important thing. Let's get this W. That's what I got for Word on Campus. What do you guys got?
Juice, I'll piggyback on that real quick. I think Chase in particular, well deserving of this award, and his impact on our team and his aggressiveness, I think, just trickles down to the rest of the guys and allows us to anchor our defense. And the rest of the guys just being there on help side, because he does gamble, right? He gambles, he plays passing lanes, but having that trust and in the back of your mind, knowing that your teammate is going to be there, if you miss the steal or something like that, I think allows him to play free and be able to be on the prowl, for lack of better terms. So I'm really excited to see that outside of a Big Ten setting, because if you look back at that tournament in Cancun in particular, he was an absolute menace defensively, in passing lanes, getting steals, getting blocks from behind, like all of those things that we've become accustomed to seeing, and Big Ten fans alike have been accustomed to seeing. He's going to be able to do that on a national platform, and I think it's going to take a lot of people by surprise. How long his arms are, how big his hands are, his anticipation, and his ability to read offenses and shoot gaps, I think is going to be super cool to see at this setting, and I think it's going to allow us to score more transition points, more fast break points, where I think is we're at our best. So shout out Chase, like huge honor, huge award being in the top 4, and now it's really to put everybody on notice on what an impact he is on that side of the floor.
Definitely. Then I want to ask you guys this question. Why do you guys think the teams from the Big Ten struggle in the NCAA tournament once we get there? So I don't think we had a champion from the Big Ten since, 2000? I think when Michigan State won it. So what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I can kick it off. I mean, there's arguments that we beat each other up during the entire season.
I was going to say that.
For 20 games. It's almost cannibalization of just beating the crap out of each other for what, how many, for 2 months or whatever it is. Like
even longer now because
it's a gauntlet.
Early. Yeah.
It's a gauntlet. I mean, you start in December and you go all the way to the 1st of March, so it's almost 4 months. And so there's an argument for that. I've always said that style of play is a huge factor. Obviously, you're playing 2 games. If you're able to win the first game, you have to play 2 games in 3 days, and you're going back to like the AAU style basketball, what it feels like. But I think it ultimately just comes down to being able to run on the fly, make up plays on the fly, and be able to just have some talent. And I think it's all timing for this stuff. It's all matchups.
Yeah.
But for us to have, for when I'm speaking us, for the Big Ten to have 10 teams in the field last year, right? I don't have an answer for you, to be honest. I think it's a mixture of things, but I think the biggest thing is just fatigue and getting beat up quite a bit during the season.
Yeah, we're also the last conference to finish their tournament. Some of these, if you take a look at some of these mid majors, they're finishing up on Thursday or Friday that week when we're playing well into the afternoon on Sunday. So that does take a serious toll on some of these teams. And we obviously beat up on each other throughout the year. I also think I feel like the officiating a little bit different in a tournament. I really do. I think we obviously play a very physical brand of basketball in the Big Ten, where you can get away with some hand checking, especially in the post, and some things, and some checking of cutters and things like that we've become accustomed to in the conference. Yet I think when the NCAA tournament rolls around, they want the product to be a little bit more free flowing. They want shooting to be on display, and I think it takes an adjustment period for teams like Big Ten teams to take that and actually apply it in those games. So like Nate said, your ability to adapt, your ability to work on the fly and come up with plays and maybe adapt your style of play to what is being officiated is going to be really hard. I feel like some of the teams in our conference are super structured. You look at Michigan State, like they're super structured. They have a very deep set of plays. They're always they always push in transition, but they do tend to set up plays in the half court. Whereas you look at some of these teams that have been successful over the course of the years, they have a lot of talent on the wings. They have little guards that can really determine how the game is going to be played, and it's a lot of read and react type of style that's been good. You look at Dunk City from Florida Gulf Coast, like they were just free flowing, man. Like that's all they did. They free flowed. You pressed them, great. We got in the middle, passed to another guy, boom, lob at the rim, dunk. It's a little bit more European style play, in my opinion, when it comes to NCAA tournament time. So I think we can play that way. I think the coaches are aware of that now. I think the conference probably did a little bit of a better job this year in terms of prepping us for the big dance. I thought it was called a little bit tighter this year, foul-wise. So hopefully, that'll translate to this tournament, and we can have a few teams make some deep runs. I like overall, I like our seedings, and I like the matchups we have. I think we could take advantage of some of that.
I agree. I like that. I like that breakdown. I agree with both of you guys completely. You took the words right out of my mouth. And one other thing I want to throw out there for word on campus, that support like we talked about, the students, how they showed up at the Big Ten Conference Tournament. Over 700 tickets were bought for the Big Ten Conference Tournament. Students outside 2 hours early before you could pick up the tickets. That's amazing. That support has been huge. Like Nate touched on earlier, that support in Sacktown is going to be huge. And let's go Cats. We're looking forward to, a deep run in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and hopefully we have another one of these podcasts after we reach the Sweet 16 next week.
We will. Yes, sir, we will. We definitely will be on board.
And obviously Nate's going to be a recurring guest on the show. We appreciate all your insight, bro. This has been great. And then obviously we wanted to bring you on today in particular, just based on your experience, you being an integral part of that 2017 team. And, obviously you're well endowed in the program today. So we appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on.
No, thank you guys. I mean, this is awesome that we're getting the word out on Northwestern basketball, especially this year. It's been an awesome year to follow these guys. It's been a lot of fun, and you know, we get a lot of credit for being the first team to make it, but I've always looked up to you guys. You got guys like Drew, you know, Tullio and Juice are definitely some of it, but you got guys like Trey Demps and Reggie Hearn and Alex Ola. You talk about all these guys, and forgive me for missing any of them, but it was always great to watch you guys grow up. And obviously Sherna, you can't miss him, but guys to look up to and to kind of follow the same brand of basketball that Northwestern is, and different coaches, but it's always been the same guys, you know, top level human beings, and just love basketball, and that's all it is. And it's been phenomenal to follow you two across this podcast venture, and it's been really cool to partner with you guys as fans and alumni and all that stuff. It's been a blast.
Yeah, it's been great. So we're looking forward to the next episode after we get these 2 W's this weekend.
Yes, sir. UCLA, you got something coming. If we got to get to that second line. I just one game at a time. But those guys,
welcome to the Big Ten.
Yeah, man, they're a little beat up, but let's go beat them up.
Beyond the Big Ten is a network of podcasts that aims to be your go-to resource for all things Big Ten. We cover the entire conference with shows hosted by ex-players and athletic alumni, aiming to be your go-to source of information and entertainment for your favorite team. Hosted by ex-Big Ten players, media, and insiders, our podcasts are focused on giving diehard fans and those alums an inside scoop about the teams and people that make the Big Ten Conference one of the most watched and most talked about conferences in sports. We're excited to talk Big Ten basketball with you wherever you may be. Subscribe now.